Stop. Look at this moment. Look at the rage in the woman's eyes. Look at the desperate tears on the little girl's dirty face. Mrs. Veronica Sterling is the most powerful billionaire in the city. Her white dress costs more than a whole house. And hanging onto that dress, staining it with mud and tears, is 8-year-old Chidera. Get your filthy hands off me. Mrs. Sterling screams. Her voice echoes like a gunshot in the silent lobby. The security guards grab Chidera by her thin arms. They lift her feet off the ground. She kicks. She screams. But she doesn't scream for mercy. She doesn't scream for food. She looks the angry billionaire right in the eyes and screams the one thing that makes the entire room freeze. If you throw me out, you kill him. You are the only one. You are the only one. The billionaire raises her hand high. Is she going to strike the child? Is she going to call the police? This is the moment that changed everything. But before we see what Mrs. Sterling does next, before the slap or the salvation, we need to know how we got here. Please hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell. We want to know our community better, so tell me in the comments. Where are you watching this video from? Do you believe a billionaire can truly care about the poor? Let us know below. Let us rewind to 6 hours earlier. The sun had not even come up yet in the slum of Ajigunal. The air smelled of smoke and stagnant water. In a tiny shack that leaned to one side, Chidera was already awake. She wasn't awake because of an alarm clock. She was awake because of the sound that haunted her dreams. Cough, cough, rattle. It sounded like stones shaking inside a plastic bottle. It was her father, Papa Ben. Chidera sat up on her thin mat. She was small for her age, with big brown eyes that had seen too much sadness. She rubbed the sleep from her face and crawled over to the wooden bed where her father lay. Papa Ben used to be a giant. He used to carry 2 bags of cement at once on the construction site. He used to lift Chidera high in the air and call her his little bird. Now Papa Ben was just bones covered in skin. His cheeks were sunken in. His eyes were yellow. The sickness, kidney failure, was eating him from the inside out. Papa? Chidera whispered. She touched his forehead. It was burning hot like a pot left on the fire. Papa Ben opened his eyes. He tried to smile, but it looked like a grimace of pain. Little bird, he rasped. Why are you up? It is still dark. I am getting ready, Chidera lied. She tried to make her voice sound brave. I am going to sell the oranges today. I will make big money, Papa. Enough for the red pills. Papa Ben closed his eyes. A tear leaked out. He knew the truth. The oranges were gone. They had eaten the last fruit yesterday. There was nothing to sell. There was no money. There was not even Gary to drink. Don't go too far, he whispered, his breath smelling of sickness. The world is hard for little birds. Chidera waited until he drifted back into a restless sleep. Then she stood up. She smoothed down her faded blue dress. It was clean, but it had a hole near the shoulder and the color was washed out. She put on her rubber slippers. One side was held together by a safety pin. She walked to the corner of the room where a piece of old newspaper was stuck to the wall. It was a picture of her. Mrs. Veronica Sterling. The headline read, "The Billionaire Queen of Real Estate. The Woman Who Owns the City." In the picture, Mrs. Sterling looked like a queen. She wore a white suit. She had gold jewelry. Her face was stern, unsmiling, powerful. People in the slum talked about her. She is a witch, the vegetable seller had said. She has a heart of stone, the mechanic had said. She fires people if they sneeze wrong, the neighbor had said. But Chidera didn't see a witch. She saw the word billionaire. She saw the word owns. If she owns the city, Chidera whispered to the empty room, then she owns the medicine too. Chidera looked back at her father. He coughed again, his body shaking the bed. He didn't have days left. He maybe only had hours. She grabbed her small, empty plastic bag. She took a deep breath. I am not going to sell oranges, she vowed softly. I am going to find the queen. The walk was long. It was not just a walk. It was a journey between 2 different worlds. For the first hour, Chidera walked through the mud of the slums. She dodged motorcycles that zoomed past, splashing dirty water. She ignored the smell of rotting garbage. Her stomach growled, a loud, angry rumble, reminding her she hadn't eaten dinner last night. Growl. She put a hand over her tummy. Shoo, she told it. Later. By the second hour, the scenery changed. The mud turned to tar. The shacks turned to concrete buildings. The motorcycles turned to cars. By the third hour, Chidera was in the business district. Here the air didn't smell of smoke, it smelled of expensive perfume and car exhaust. The buildings were so tall they seemed to scratch the sky. They were made of blue glass that reflected the sun. Chidera felt tiny. She felt like an ant in a land of giants. Her legs ached. Her safety pin slipper was digging into her skin, making a raw spot on her toe. But she kept walking. She asked a security guard for directions to Sterling Towers. The guard had laughed. You? Going to Sterling Towers? Are you lost, little beggar? I am not a beggar, Chidera had said, lifting her chin. I have an appointment. It was a lie, but it made the guard point down the road. And then she saw it. Sterling Towers. It was the biggest, most beautiful building of all. It was shaped like a diamond. Gold letters above the door spelled out, Sterling Group. Chidera stood across the street. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. Thump thump. Thump thump. Huge luxury cars, black SUVs, long limousines, sports cars, were pulling up to the entrance. Men in sharp suits and women in high heels walked in. They looked like movie stars. Chidera looked at her dusty feet. She looked at her faded dress. Fear cold as ice washed over her. Go home, Chidera, a voice in her head said. They will laugh at you. They will chase you with dogs. Then she remembered Papa Ben. She remembered the heat of his forehead. She clenched her small fists. She waited for the traffic light to change. She ran across the street. The revolving door was heavy. Chidera had to push it with her whole body. Whoosh! She stepped inside. Instantly, the noise of the city vanished. It was silent in here. And cold. The air conditioning was so strong it made the sweat on her skin turn to ice. The floor was made of white marble, so shiny she could see her own frightened face in it. There was a fountain in the middle of the room. A real fountain inside a building. Hey, you. The voice was deep and angry. Chidera froze. A security guard, a giant man with a chest like a barrel, was marching toward her. His uniform was crisp and black. He had a radio on his shoulder. How did you get in here? The guard barked. He didn't bend down to her level. He towered over her. Get out. No hawking. No begging. Chidera's voice was a squeak. She cleared her throat. I am here to see Mrs. Sterling. The guard blinked. Then he threw his head back and laughed. It was a cruel, booming laugh. You want to see the boss? Did you hear that, Toby? He looked at the front desk. A receptionist, Mr. Toby, was looking over his glasses with a sneer. Get the rat out, Sam. Before Madam comes down. She is in a bad mood today. Please, Chidera begged. She put her hands together. I don't want money. I want a job. I can clean. Look. She fell to her knees on the marble floor. She used the hem of her dress to wipe a spot on the floor that was already clean. I can make it shine. I can wash windows. I can carry bags. My papa is sick, sir. Please. The guard Sam stopped laughing. He looked annoyed now. He reached out a big hand to grab her shoulder. I set out. Ding. The sound of the golden elevator opening made everyone freeze. Click, clack, click, clack. The sound of sharp high heels on marble. Why is there noise in my lobby? The voice was smooth, low, and dangerous. Sam the guard snapped to attention. He looked terrified. Madam. Good afternoon, madam. Just some trash that blew in from the street. I am removing it now. Chidera looked up. There she was. The woman from the newspaper. Mrs. Veronica Sterling. She was even scarier in real life. She wore a fitted white dress that looked like it was made of clouds. Her hair was pulled back tight. Her sunglasses were dark. She held a phone in one hand and a designer bag in the other. She didn't even look at Chidera. She looked straight ahead, walking toward the glass doors. Remove it, Mrs. Sterling said. She spoke about Chidera like she was a discarded wrapper. And wiped the floor where it stood. Germs. That word hit Chidera harder than a slap. Germs. She wasn't a germ. She was Papa Ben's little bird. Panic exploded in her chest. If Mrs. Sterling walked out that door, Papa Ben died. It was that simple. Sam the guard reached for Chidera. Come on, you little. Chidera bit his hand. Ah. Sam yelled, letting go. Chidera scrambled up. She didn't run to the door. She ran toward the woman in white. It happened in seconds. Chidera threw herself forward. Mrs. Sterling had just stopped to check a message on her phone. Chidera crashed into her legs. She wrapped her dirty arms around the woman's knees. She buried her dusty face into the expensive white fabric of the dress. Please? Chidera screamed. Please, Madam Billionaire. Don't go. What on earth? Mrs. Sterling shrieked. She tried to shake her leg free, but Chidera held on with the strength of the dying. The white dress was instantly smeared with mud from Chidera's knees and dust from her journey. Sam the guard and two others rushed over. They grabbed Chidera's shirt. They grabbed her hair. Get off her. Sam roared. No. No. Chidera cried, tears streaming down her face, mixing with the dirt on the dress. I will work for free. I will be your slave. Just save him. He is coughing blood. Please. Mrs. Sterling looked down. She took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were cold, furious, and terrifying. She looked at the ruined dress. She looked at the dirty child. The guards ripped Chidera off the woman. They threw Chidera backward. She slid across the marble floor, hitting her head. The lobby went silent. Mrs. Sterling brushed her dress. She looked at the stain. Then she looked at Chidera, who was dizzy and trying to stand up. Mrs. Sterling walked slowly toward the little girl. Chidera looked up, hope rising in her heart. She is coming, Chidera thought. She heard me. She is a mother too, surely? She will help. Mrs. Sterling stood over Chidera. She reached into her purse. Chidera held her breath. Is it money? Is it a doctor's card? Mrs. Sterling pulled out a handkerchief. She covered her nose and mouth as if Chidera smelled like death itself. Call the police, Mrs. Sterling said, her voice ice cold. Arrest this thing for assault and destruction of property. And make sure she stays in a cell long enough to learn that dirt belongs in the gutter. Chidera's heart stopped. No. Chidera whispered. If you arrest me, who will give him water? He can't walk. Mrs. Sterling turned her back. Not my problem. She started to walk away. Chidera knew this was the end. But she had one thing left. One secret weapon she had been saving in her pocket. It was her most precious treasure. Wait. Chidera screamed. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, crumbled, old piece of paper. Wait. Look at this. Look at who he is. She threw the paper. It fluttered through the air and landed right at Mrs. Sterling's feet. Mrs. Sterling paused. She looked down at the paper. Her eyes went wide. Her face turned pale. The phone dropped from her hand and smashed on the floor. Crash. Mrs. Sterling stared at the paper, shaking. She slowly looked back at Chidera, but this time, it wasn't anger in her eyes. It was pure horror. Where? Mrs. Sterling whispered, her voice trembling. Where did you get this? What was on the paper? Why did the Iron Lady drop her phone? And will this save Chidera or make things far, far worse? Subscribe to this channel to support our growth and find out what happens next. The lobby of Sterling Towers was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Mrs. Veronica Sterling, the woman who could buy the whole city, was shaking. She wasn't shaking from anger anymore. She was shaking from fear. She knelt down. Her expensive white dress touched the floor, but she didn't care. Her manicured fingers picked up the crumpled piece of paper Chidera had thrown. She smoothed it out. It was an old photograph. It was black and white, stained with time and dirt. It showed two teenagers standing in front of a mud house. A boy with a bright smile and a girl with fierce, hungry eyes. They were holding hands. Mrs. Sterling stared at the girl in the photo. That girl was wearing rags. That girl was barefoot. That girl was her. And the boy holding her hand? The boy with the bright smile? Mrs. Sterling looked up slowly. She looked at Chidera. She looked at the little girl's big brown eyes, the shape of her nose, the way she stood. Where? Mrs. Sterling choked out, her voice sounding like broken glass. Where did you get this? Did you steal it? Tell me. She grabbed Chidera's shoulders. No. Chidera cried, shrinking back. I didn't steal it. It is Papa's. He keeps it under his pillow. He talks to it when the pain is bad. Papa? Mrs. Sterling whispered. The color drained from her face. She looked like she had seen a ghost. What is your father's name? Chidera sniffed, wiping her nose. His name is Benjamin. Mrs. Sterling gasped. She stumbled back as if Chidera had punched her. Benjamin? Benjamin is dead. He died in the fire 20 years ago. He is not dead. Chidera screamed, stamping her foot. He is dying. And you are wasting time. The police are coming to take me, but you have to help him. Mrs. Sterling stood up abruptly. She turned to Sam, the giant security guard who was holding his radio. Cancel the police, she ordered. Her voice was sharp again, but her eyes were wild. But madam, Sam stammered. She bit me. She ruined your dress. I said cancel it. Mrs. Sterling roared. And cancel my meetings. Cancel the investors. Cancel everything. She looked at Chidera. You. Come with me. The elevator ride was terrifying. Chidera had never been in an elevator before. When it started moving up, she grabbed the railing, thinking she was falling. Her stomach did a flip. But she was more scared of the woman standing next to her. Mrs. Sterling didn't speak. She just stared at the old photo. Her thumb rubbed the face of the boy in the picture. Over and over again. Who is he to her? Chidera wondered. Why did Papa send me to her? He said she was a billionaire. He didn't say she was a friend. Ding. Ding. The doors opened on the top floor. The lobby was fancy. This was a palace. The floor was covered in soft red carpet. The walls were made of glass, showing the whole city below. Mrs. Sterling marched into her office and pointed at a giant leather chair. Sit. Chidera sat. The chair swallowed her up. She felt small and dirty in this clean room. Mrs. Sterling paced back and forth. Click, clack, click, clack. You say his name is Benjamin, Mrs. Sterling said, stopping in front of Chidera. Describe him. He is tall, Chidera whispered. But now he is bent over. He used to be strong. He has a scar here. She pointed to her left eyebrow. Mrs. Sterling froze. She closed her eyes. A scar from a broken bottle. Defending me from a street gang, she whispered to herself. She opened her eyes. They were wet. Why did he send you? Mrs. Sterling asked sharply. Does he want money? Is that it? 20 years of silence and now he sends a child to beg. He didn't send me, Chidera shouted. He doesn't even know I am here. He told me to stay home. But I saw your picture in the newspaper on the wall. I stole the photo. I ran away to find you because the doctor said he needs 500,000 naira or he will die. Mrs. Sterling stared at Chidera. She looked for a lie in the little girl's eyes. She saw only truth and fear. He doesn't know? Mrs. Sterling asked softly. No. He is too proud, Chidera said, her voice cracking. He says we don't beg. But I don't care about pride. I care about Papa. Mrs. Sterling turned to the window. She looked out at the city she owned. She had money, power, fame. But she was alone. Benjamin, she whispered. My Benjamin. I left him behind. I chose the money. I thought he died. Suddenly she turned around. She grabbed her purse. Get up, she commanded. Are we going to the police station? Chidera asked, trembling. No, Mrs. Sterling said. She put her sunglasses back on to hide her eyes. We are going to Ajigano. Take me to him. The car was like a spaceship. It was quiet inside. The seats were made of leather that smelled like new shoes. The air conditioning was cool. Chidera sat in the back next to Mrs. Sterling. The driver, a man in a suit, looked nervous. Madam, the driver said, looking at the rearview mirror. Are you sure about this area? It is not safe for the car. The tires might get stuck in the mud. Drive, Mrs. Sterling said coldly. If the car gets stuck, we buy a new one. Chidera looked out the window. They were entering her world now. The scenery changed from blue glass buildings to rusty roofs. From tar roads to brown water. Crowds of children ran after the car. They had never seen a Rolls-Royce before. They tapped on the glass. Give us money. Give us money, they shouted. Mrs. Sterling flinched. She looked at the children outside. Then she looked at Chidera inside. Is this where you live? Mrs. Sterling asked. Her voice was quiet. Yes, Chidera said. It is not bad. When it doesn't rain. Mrs. Sterling looked ill. She remembered this smell. The smell of the gutter. She had spent 20 years trying to scrub this smell off her skin with expensive perfumes. And now she was back. He stayed, she whispered. I ran away and he stayed. Turn left here. Chidera pointed. The car turned down a narrow, bumpy path. It hit a pothole. Bump. The luxury car rocked. Stop here. Chidera said. The car cannot fit past this point. We have to walk. The driver looked terrified. Madam, please. Let me call security backup. You cannot walk here. They will mob you. Mrs. Sterling didn't wait. She opened the door. Whoosh. The heat of the slum hit her. The noise. The smell. Mrs. Sterling stepped out. Her white heels sank into the mud. Her expensive dress brushed against a rusty gate. The whole neighborhood froze. The woman selling roasted corn dropped her fan. The mechanic stopped hammering. Everyone stared. Is that the billionaire? Someone whispered. What is she doing with Chidera? Chidera jumped out of the car. She didn't care about the staring people. She grabbed Mrs. Sterling's hand, the hand with the diamond ring. Come. Hurry. He was coughing bad this morning. Mrs. Sterling looked at her hand and Chidera's dirty hand. She didn't pull away. She squeezed it tight. Lead the way, she said. They walked fast. Chidera was running. Mrs. Sterling was struggling to keep up in her heels, but she didn't stop. They reached the shack. It was worse than Mrs. Sterling imagined. It was barely a house. It was a box of rust and rotting wood. "Papa," Chidera called out as she reached the door. "Papa, I brought her. I brought the queen." There was no answer. Usually Papa would cough. Or he would call back, "Little bird, is that you?" But today, silence. Chidera's heart hammered. Thump thump. Thump thump. "Papa?" She pushed the wooden door open. It creaked loudly. Sunlight from the doorway spilled into the dark room. Mrs. Sterling stood in the doorway behind Chidera. She covered her mouth with her hand. The room was empty of furniture except for the bed. On the bed a man lay very still. One arm was hanging off the side of the mattress. "Benjamin?" Mrs. Sterling cried out. She pushed past Chidera. She forgot about the dirt. She forgot about the germs. She ran to the bed. She fell to her knees in the dust. She looked at the man's face. It was aged. It was thin. But it was him. The boy from the photo. The boy she had loved. The boy she had left to chase money. "Benjamin," she wept, touching his face. "I am here. Veronica is here." He didn't move. He didn't breathe. Chidera stood by the door, frozen. Her world was spinning. "Papa," she whispered. Mrs. Sterling grabbed his wrist. She felt for a pulse. She waited. 1 second. 2 seconds. Her eyes went wide. She looked at Chidera with terror. He is cold," Mrs. Sterling whispered. "No." Chidera screamed. She ran to the bed and shook him. "Papa, wake up. The medicine is coming. She is here. Wake up." But Papa Ben lay still, his eyes half open, staring at nothing. "Chidera, stop," Mrs. Sterling said, tears streaming down her face. "Stop shaking him. Fix him." Chidera yelled, hitting Mrs. Sterling's chest with her tiny fists. "You are a billionaire. You own the city. Buy him a new heart. Buy him breath. Fix him." Mrs. Sterling grabbed Chidera's hands. I can't." Suddenly Papa Ben's chest gave a tiny jerky movement. Gah. It was a terrible rattling sound. A death rattle. "He is alive," Chidera cried. "Barely," Mrs. Sterling said. She turned around and screamed at the open door. "Driver, call the ambulance. The private jet ambulance. Now." She looked back at Ben. His eyes fluttered. He saw the woman in white hovering over him. He tried to speak. His lips moved. Mrs. Sterling leaned her ear close to his mouth. "Veronica." He wheezed. "You came back." "I am here, Ben," she sobbed. "I am going to save you." He shook his head weakly. A small, sad smile touched his lips. "Too late," he whispered. "The secret, tell her, the secret." Mrs. Sterling froze. "What secret, Ben?" Ben looked at Chidera, then back at Mrs. Sterling. "Chidera is not my daughter." Mrs. Sterling's eyes widened in shock. "What?" Ben took one last jagged breath. "She is yours," gasped. Mrs. Sterling stopped breathing. She looked at the dirty, desperate little girl standing next to her. She looked at her own eyes in the girl's face. Ben's hand fell limp. His eyes closed. The ambulance siren wailed outside, but inside the shack, time had stopped. Is Ben dead? Is Chidera really the billionaire's daughter? And if she is, why did Ben keep her in the slums for 8 years? "She is yours." 3 words. Just 3 little words. But they hit Mrs. Veronica Sterling harder than a moving train. The air in the tiny rusty shack seemed to vanish. Veronica forgot how to breathe. She looked at the dying man on the bed. Then she slowly turned her head to look at the little girl. Chidera was crying, shaking her father's arm. "Papa. Papa, don't sleep. The queen is here. She will save you." Veronica stared at Chidera's face. Really stared. She looked at the shape of Chidera's eyes, large, almond-shaped, dark brown. "My eyes," Veronica thought. She looked at the small birthmark on Chidera's neck, just below her ear. Veronica's hand flew to her own neck. She had the exact same mark. How did I not see it? Veronica screamed inside her head. "Oh, madam." The driver burst into the room, panting. "The ambulance jet is landing at the city helipad, but the ground ambulance is here. They are at the end of the alley." Veronica snapped out of her trance. The shock turned into a roaring fire of panic. "Don't just stand there," she screamed at the driver. Her voice cracked, loud and terrifying. "Get him. Pick him up. If he dies, you all lose your jobs. Everyone." 2 paramedics in green uniforms rushed in behind the driver. They looked out of place in the dirty shack with their clean equipment. They looked at the man on the bed, filthy, skeletal, smelling of sickness. Then they looked at the billionaire in her ruined white dress. "Ma'am, is this the patient?" one paramedic asked, hesitating. He probably thought it was a mistake. Why would the richest woman in Lagos be in a shack like this? "Yes," Veronica roared. She grabbed the paramedic by his collar. "He is the most important patient you will ever have. Move." They moved fast. They lifted Ben onto a stretcher. "Papa," Chidera wailed, trying to climb onto the stretcher. "Where are you taking him?" Sam, the security guard, tried to pull Chidera back. "Stay back, little girl." "No," Veronica shouted. She slapped Sam's hand away. "Do not touch her. Do not ever touch her again." Veronica knelt down in the mud. She didn't care about her dress anymore. It was already destroyed. She looked Chidera in the eyes. "Chidera," she said, her voice shaking. "You are coming with me. Hold my hand." Chidera looked confused. She sniffed, wiping snot on her sleeve. "But, you said I was a germ. You said I belong in the gutter." Veronica felt like a knife had been twisted in her heart. She closed her eyes for a second, fighting back tears. "I was wrong," Veronica whispered. "I was so wrong. Come." She grabbed Chidera's small, rough hand. The hand that had scrubbed floors. The hand that had sold oranges. The hand that was her own flesh and blood. They ran out of the shack together, following the stretcher, leaving the darkness of the slum behind. "Stop right there. The secret is out, but is it true? Is Chidera really her daughter? Or is Ben playing a mind game? Hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments. If you found out your child was living in poverty while you were rich, what would you do?" The ambulance siren wailed like a crying beast. "WO, WO." Inside it was chaos. "BP is dropping," a paramedic shouted. "Oxygen levels critical. We need to intubate." They were putting tubes down Ben's throat. They were sticking needles into his thin arms. Chidera watched it all with wide, terrified eyes. She squeezed her knees to her chest. She looked so small. So fragile. Veronica sat opposite her. She wasn't looking at Ben. She couldn't take her eyes off Chidera. Flashback. Veronica closed her eyes and saw the past. 8 years ago. The best private hospital in London. She remembered waking up from the C-section. The grogginess. The pain. She remembered asking, "Where is my baby? Where is my girl?" She remembered her mother's face. Set. Somber. "I am sorry, Veronica. The baby didn't make it. Her lungs were too small. She is gone." Veronica remembered the screaming. The days of darkness. The funeral with the tiny empty coffin. She had buried a box of air. They lied to me, Veronica realized. The anger bubbled up in her throat, hot and acidic. My mother. My father. They hated Ben. They hated that I loved a poor boy. So they stole my child and gave her to him. She looked at Chidera's feet. The safety pin holding the slipper together. The scars on her shins from running in the bush. My daughter has been starving while I threw away food, Veronica thought. My daughter has been sleeping on dirt while I slept on silk. Why are you looking at me? Chidera's small voice broke the silence. Veronica jumped. She blinked. I am just making sure you are okay. Is he going to die? Chidera asked. Her voice didn't tremble. It was flat. The voice of a child who expects bad things to happen. No, Veronica said fiercely. I won't let him. I have money. I have the best doctors. Money didn't help before, Chidera whispered. I begged people for money for 2 years. Nobody looked at me. You didn't look at me in the lobby. Veronica flinched. Every word Chidera spoke was a punishment. I am looking at you now, Veronica said softly. She reached out a hand to touch Chidera's hair. It was tangled and dusty. Chidera flinched away. Don't. I am dirty. Veronica pulled her hand back. Her heart shattered into a million pieces. She wanted to scream. She wanted to hug this child and never let go. But she was a stranger. Worse, she was the wicked witch from the newspaper. BP stabilizing, the paramedic called out. We are 5 minutes out from St. Jude's Specialist Hospital. Veronica wiped her face. She put on her billionaire face. The face of steel. The face that scared men in boardrooms. Listen to me, she told the paramedics. When we get there, I want Dr. Balogun. Only him. If anyone else touches this man, I will sue the hospital into dust. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am, the paramedic stammered. Veronica looked back at Chidera. I will save him, she promised herself. I will save him so I can ask him why. Why did he take you? Why didn't he tell me? The doors flew open. Go. 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 The stretcher was wheeled out. Doctors swarmed it like bees. They ran Ben through the double glass doors. Chidera tried to run after them. Papa. A nurse stepped in front of her. Sorry, dear. You can't go in there. It is a sterile zone. Let me pass. Chidera cried, trying to duck under the nurse's arm. Chidera. Veronica's voice was calm but firm. Chidera stopped and looked back. Veronica stood by the ambulance. She looked powerful, even with mud on her dress. He's in the best hands. If you go in there, you will get in the way. Stay with me. Chidera hesitated. She looked at the doors where her father had disappeared. Then she looked at Veronica. She walked slowly back to the Billionaire. Come, Veronica said. They walked into the hospital lobby. It was silent and cool, smelling of lavender and antiseptic. The floor was polished marble. People stared. They saw Mrs. Sterling, the famous billionaire, walking with a child who looked like a street beggar. Nurses whispered behind their hands. Is that her charity case? Why is she holding the girl's hand? Veronica ignored them all. She marched to the reception desk. I need the VIP suite, she commanded. And I need Dr. Adebayo from the genetics department. Immediately, the receptionist's eyes went wide. Genetics, ma'am? But that is for DNA testing. Did I stutter? Veronica slammed her hand on the desk. Bang. Get him now. Yes, ma'am. Right away. Veronica led Chidera to a private waiting room. It had soft velvet sofas, a TV, and a fridge full of drinks. Sit, Veronica said gently. Chidera sat on the edge of the sofa. She was afraid to lean back. She thought she might stain the velvet. Veronica went to the fridge. She took out a bottle of cold apple juice and a sandwich wrapped in plastic. Here, she said, handing them to Chidera. Eat. Chidera looked at the food. Her stomach gave a loud, traitorous growl. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. She snatched the sandwich and tore open the wrapper. She ate wolfishly, stuffing big bites into her mouth. Veronica watched her eat. Tears pricked her eyes again. My child is starving. Chidera, Veronica said softly. What did Papa Ben tell you about your mother? Chidera stopped chewing. She swallowed hard. He said she was an angel. He said she died when I was born because she was too beautiful for this world. Veronica covered her mouth to stifle a sob. He didn't tell her the truth. He protected my memory. Why? Chidera asked, wiping crumbs from her mouth. Did you know her? You acted weird when Papa said, she is yours. Veronica took a deep breath. This was the moment. But she couldn't say it yet. She needed the paper. She needed the science. She couldn't break this little girl's heart with a hope that might be false. I might have known her, Veronica lied. We were friends. A long time ago. Just then the door opened. A tall man in a lab coat walked in. He looked nervous. This was Dr. Adebayo. Mrs. Sterling, he said, bowing slightly. You requested me? Yes. Veronica stood up. She looked at Chidera. I need a sample. From her. And from me. Chidera looked scared. Sample? Are you going to give me an injection? No, darling, Veronica said, kneeling down. Just a little swab inside your mouth. Like brushing your teeth. It won't hurt. I promise. Why? Chidera asked suspiciously. To check. To check if you have the same blood as your mother, Veronica said. So we can help Papa Ben better. It was a half-lie. But Chidera nodded. Okay. For Papa. The doctor swabbed Chidera's cheek. Then he swabbed Veronica's cheek. How long? Veronica asked the doctor, her eyes burning with intensity. Usually it takes 48 hours, ma'am, but for you? I can rush it to the rapid lab. 3 hours. Maybe 4. Do it in 2, Veronica ordered. I pay double. The doctor nodded and ran out. Now they had to wait. 2 hours of silence. 2 hours of Chidera falling asleep on the sofa, exhausted. 2 hours of Veronica watching her sleep, tracing the shape of her face with her eyes, praying to a God she hadn't spoken to in years. Please, Veronica prayed. Please let her be mine. I will give her the world. I will burn the city down and build her a castle. Veronica. The man marched in. He looked at Veronica's muddy dress with disgust. What is going on? The investors are blowing up my phone. You missed the merger meeting. Are you insane? Veronica looked up. She felt nothing for this man. Richard was perfect on paper, but he loved her money more than her. Lower your voice, Richard, she hissed. There is a child sleeping. Richard looked at the sofa. He saw Chidera, dirty, poor, curled up on the expensive velvet. Who is that? Richard sneered. Is that the beggar from the lobby? Why is she here? Did you hit her with your car? Is this a lawsuit? She is not a lawsuit. Veronica stood up, blocking his view of Chidera. She is a guest. Richard laughed. A cold, humorless sound. A guest? You are sitting in a VIP suite with a slum rat, covered in mud, while our stock price drops. Have you lost your mind? Get security to throw her out and let's go. I have the car waiting. I am not going anywhere, Veronica said icily. Not until the results come back. Results? What results? Richard stepped closer. He looked suspicious. Veronica, what are you doing? Before she could answer, the door opened again. It was Dr. Adebayo. He held a large white envelope in his hands. His face was pale. Mrs. Sterling, the doctor said. The results are ready. Richard looked at the envelope. He looked at Veronica's terrified, hopeful face. He looked at the sleeping girl. His eyes narrowed. He was a smart man. He put the pieces together. Wait a minute, Richard said slowly. Is this a maternity test? Veronica ignored him. She walked toward the doctor. Her hands were shaking so bad she could barely lift them. Give it to me, she whispered. Veronica, don't be stupid. Richard grabbed her arm. If this kid is some long-lost charity case, you can just write a check. You don't need to bring her into our lives. Think about the scandal. Think about the company. Let go of me. Veronica ripped her arm away. This isn't about the company. This is about my life. She grabbed the envelope. It felt heavy. Inside that paper was the truth. Was she a mother? Or was she just a lonely billionaire who had been tricked by a dying man? She put her finger under the flap of the envelope. Ripper. She pulled out the paper. She unfolded it. Probability of maternity. She looked at the number. Her breath hitched. Her hand covered her mouth. Tears instantly flooded her eyes. Oh my God, she whispered. Oh my God. Richard looked over her shoulder. He saw the number. His face went dark. Pure evil passed over his features. This was not good for his bank account. Veronica, Richard said, his voice fake sweet now. What does it say? Veronica turned to him, sobbing with joy. She is. Beep, 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 beep. Suddenly, a red light started flashing above the door. A loud, piercing alarm echoed through the hallway. Code blue. Code blue in ICU 4. Patient Benjamin. Code blue. The intercom blared the announcement. Chidera woke up with a scream. Papa. Veronica dropped the paper. The paper fluttered to the floor, landing face up. Visual, close up on the paper. It reads, probability of maternity, 99.99%, match confirmed. But nobody was looking at the paper. Chidera was running toward the door. Papa. Papa. Veronica ran after her. Chidera, wait. They burst into the hallway. Doctors were sprinting toward Ben's room. They were pushing a crash cart with shock paddles. Through the glass window of the ICU they saw him. Ben was convulsing on the bed. His body arching off the mattress. The heart monitor was a flat line. Charge to 200, a doctor yelled inside the room. Clear. Thump. Ben's body jumped. The line stayed flat. Again. Charge to 300. Thump. Flat line. Chidera threw herself against the glass window. She banged on it with her tiny fists. Papa. Wake up. Don't leave me. You promised. Veronica stood behind her, helpless. She had the money. She had the power. She had the DNA match. She had found her daughter. But she was watching the only man who knew the full truth die right in front of her. And behind them in the waiting room, Richard picked up the DNA test. He looked at the 99.99%. He took a lighter from his pocket. He smiled a cruel smile. Well, Richard whispered to himself, we can't have a little street rat inheriting my future fortune, can we? He flicked the lighter. The flame danced near the paper. Is Ben gone forever? Will Richard destroy the only proof Chidera has? And if Ben dies, who will tell Chidera that the billionaire is actually her mother? Fire. It takes only 1 second to destroy the truth. In the hospital waiting room, Richard smiled. It was the smile of a snake. He watched the flame eat the paper. He watched the words 99.99% match turn into gray ash. No. Veronica screamed. She turned away from the glass window where Ben was dying. She saw the fire in Richard's hand. She didn't think. She didn't act like a billionaire lady. She acted like a mother lion. She lunged across the room. She flew over the coffee table, knocking over the drinks. Crash. She tackled Richard. They both hit the expensive carpet hard. You monster. Veronica shrieked. She clawed at his hand. She wasn't trying to hurt him, she was trying to save the paper. But it was too late. Richard laughed as he shoved her off. He threw the burning paper into the air. It floated down like a black snowflake. It crumbled into dust as it hit the floor. The proof was gone. The science was gone. The only thing that proved Chidera was her daughter was now just a smudge of dirt on the rug. "You are crazy," Richard yelled, standing up and adjusting his suit. "Look at you. Fighting on the floor like an animal." Veronica sat on her knees. She looked at the ash. Her hands were shaking uncontrollably. "Why?" she whispered. Her voice was dangerous, low and scary. "Why did you do that?" Richard sneered. "Because I am saving you from yourself, Veronica. You work for Sterling Group. You don't have time for street rats. If investors find out you have a secret child in the slums, our stock drops. My money drops. I won't let you ruin us." Veronica stood up slowly. Her white dress was now stained with mud, blood from Ben's shack, and now soot from the fire. She looked terrifying. "Get out," she said. "Veronica, be reasonable. Get out." She screamed so loud the windows rattled. "If I see you in this hospital again, I will kill you. I don't care about the law. I will kill you with my bare hands." Richard stepped back. He saw the look in her eyes. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. "Fine," Richard spat. He straightened his tie. "But remember this. Without that paper she's just a beggar. And you are just a lonely woman losing her mind." He turned and walked out. But as he left, he took out his phone. He typed a message to someone. Veronica ran back to the glass. Her heart was hammering against her ribs. Thump thump. Thump thump. Inside the room the doctors were stepping back. They weren't shouting anymore. They weren't charging the paddles. They were just standing there looking at the monitor. "Please God," Veronica prayed. "Don't take him. He is the only one who knows the whole story." She looked at the monitor. Flatline. Then, beep. A tiny green mountain appeared on the screen. Beep. 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 It was slow. It was weak. But it was a heartbeat. The head doctor wiped sweat from his forehead. He turned to the nurse. "He is back. But he is in a deep coma. His kidneys have shut down completely. If he doesn't get a transplant in 24 hours, he won't wake up again." Veronica slumped against the glass. He was alive. She looked down. Chidera was sitting on the floor, huddled in a ball under the window. She had her hands over her ears. She was rocking back and forth. "Papa, Papa, Papa." She was whispering over and over again. Veronica knelt beside her. She wanted to touch Chidera's shoulder, but she pulled her hand back. She remembered what Richard said. "Without the paper she is just a beggar." "Chidera," Veronica said softly. Chidera looked up. Her eyes were red and swollen. They looked so much like Veronica's eyes. "Is he dead?" Chidera asked. Her voice was tiny. "No," Veronica said. "He is sleeping. A deep sleep. But he is fighting." Chidera didn't smile. She looked at Veronica with suspicion. "Why was that man fighting you? Why was there fire? You rich people, you bring fire and noise. Papa was fine until I brought you." The words cut Veronica deep. "No, darling. I'm trying to help." "I want to go home," Chidera said, standing up. She picked up her empty plastic bag. "I want to take Papa and go home. The shack is quiet. This place is scary." "You can't go home," Veronica said desperately. "He needs the machines. And you can't go back to the shack." "Why?" Chidera challenged her. "It is my house." "Because." Veronica took a deep breath. She couldn't hide it anymore. The paper was gone, but the truth was burning inside her chest. "Because you belong here," Veronica whispered. "With me." "Sit down," Veronica said. Chidera sat, but she kept distance between them. She clutched her dirty dress like a shield. Veronica sat next to her. She looked at her hands. Billionaire hands. Hands that signed $1 million checks. Now they felt useless. "Chidera," Veronica started. "Do you know why Papa Ben has that picture of me?" Chidera looked at the wall. "He said you were a friend." "We were more than friends," Veronica said. "We were in love. A long, long time ago. We were poor just like you. We lived in a shack just like yours." Chidera turned her head slightly. She was listening. "My father was a rich man," Veronica continued. "He hated Ben. He wanted me to marry a rich man. So when I got pregnant..." Chidera's eyes widened. "You had a baby?" "Yes," Veronica said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "A baby girl. I named her Ada. It means first daughter. Where is she? Chidera asked. My father told me she died, Veronica sobbed. He told me she stopped breathing. I buried an empty coffin, Chidera. For 8 years I cried for a ghost. She turned to Chidera. She reached out and took the girl's small rough hand. But she didn't die. My father, he stole her. He gave her to Ben. He told Ben to run away and never come back or he would kill the baby. Chidera looked confused. Why are you telling me this? Veronica squeezed her hand. Chidera. Look at me. Chidera looked. Papa Ben told me the truth before he went into the coma. He said, she is yours. Veronica leaned closer. You are Ada. You are my daughter. The silence in the hallway was heavy. The air conditioner hummed. Veronica waited for a hug. She waited for Chidera to cry and jump into her arms. She waited for the movie moment. But life is not a movie. Chidera pulled her hand away. She snatched it back like Veronica burned her. No, Chidera said. It is true, Veronica pleaded. I did a test. The paper. The paper you burned? Chidera shouted. She stood up, backing away. You are a liar. You are a witch. Papa Ben is my father. My mother is an angel in heaven. She is beautiful and kind. She is not you. Chidera, please? No. Chidera screamed. You are the bad lady from the newspaper. You call me a germ. My mother would never call me a germ. You just want to steal me because you are lonely. Stay away from me. Chidera turned and ran. Chidera. Come back. Veronica yelled. She tried to run after her, but her high heels slipped on the polished floor. She fell to her knees. She watched her daughter, her own flesh and blood, run away from her in terror. Veronica covered her face and screamed. It was a scream of pure heartbreak. She had all the money in the world, but she couldn't buy her daughter's love. Chidera ran until her lungs burned. She ran to the darker part of the hospital. This wing was under construction. There were plastic sheets hanging from the ceiling. It smelled of paint and dust. She stopped, panting. She leaned against a wall. Papa is my papa, she whispered to herself, trying to stop the tears. She is a liar. A rich liar. Are you lost, little one? A voice came from the shadows. Chidera jumped. She looked up. A man was standing there. He was dressed in a nurse's uniform, but it looked too tight. He wore a surgical mask that covered half his face, and a hat pulled low. I am looking for the bathroom, Chidera stammered. The man stepped closer. He held his hands behind his back. The bathroom is that way, he pointed to a dark door at the end of the hall. But you shouldn't be here. This is a restricted area. Sorry, Chidera said. She started to back away. Something about the man's eyes was scary. They were cold. Wait, the man said. Are you the girl with the billionaire? Mrs. Sterling? Chidera hesitated. I work for her. That's all. The man smiled behind his mask. The mask crinkled. Good, he said. She is looking for you. She sent me to get you. She said she has ice cream for you in the car. Chidera frowned. I don't want ice cream. I want my papa. Papa is in the car too, the man lied. He woke up. He wants to see you. Papa woke up? Chidera's face lit up with hope. Really? Yes, the man said. He took a step forward. He brought his hand out from behind his back. He was holding a syringe. A needle filled with clear liquid. Come with me, the man said softly. I will take you to him. Chidera took a step toward him. She was desperate to see her father. But then she looked down. The man was wearing shoes. Not white nurse shoes. Not sneakers. He was wearing expensive, shiny black leather shoes. The kind rich men wear. Chidera remembered the man from the waiting room. The man who burned the paper. He wore shoes like that. This is not a nurse, Chidera thought. This is a bad man. No, Chidera whispered. She turned and ran. Hey, the man shouted. His voice changed. It wasn't soft anymore. It was rough. Get back here. He lunged for her. Chidera was fast. She was used to running from street dogs in the slum. She ducked under a plastic sheet. She jumped over a bucket of paint. The man was heavy, but he was fast too. You can't run, kid, he yelled. Richard pays better than your daddy. Richard. The name confirmed it. Chidera saw an elevator ahead. The doors were closing. Hold it, she screamed. She squeezed through the closing doors just as the man grabbed her shirt. Rip. The back of her dress tore, but she broke free. The elevator doors slammed shut in the man's face. Bang. Chidera fell to the floor of the elevator, sobbing. She was safe. For a moment. She looked at the buttons. She had pressed the button for the basement, the morgue and parking garage. The elevator started going down. Ding. The doors opened into the dark, concrete basement parking lot. It was empty. Just rows of cars and flickering lights. Chidera stepped out, shivering. "Hello," she called out. "Is anyone here?" Suddenly, headlights turned on. Click. A black van was parked right in front of the elevator. The engine roared to life. The side door of the van slid open. And there, sitting inside, was Richard. He was holding a phone. He smiled at Chidera. "Hello, little rat," Richard said. "Your mother is busy crying upstairs. She forgot to protect her asset." Two men jumped out of the van. They were wearing black masks. Chidera turned to run back to the elevator, but the doors had closed. She pressed the button frantically. Click, click, click. Nothing happened. The men were coming closer. "Don't hurt her," Richard commanded from the van. "Just grab her. We need her alive to make Veronica sign the papers." Chidera backed up until her back hit the cold concrete wall. She had nowhere to go. One of the men reached for her. Chidera closed her eyes and screamed the only name that could save her. "Mommy! Mommy!" The word echoed through the metal doors of the elevator. It hit Veronica like a bullet. She didn't freeze. She didn't cry. The billionaire died in that moment and the mother was born. She looked at the elevator. The numbers were going down. To 1B basement. She looked at the stairwell door. She kicked off her high heels. They clattered across the floor. She ripped the tight skirt of her white dress so she could run. She burst through the stairwell door. Thud, thud, thud. She flew down the concrete stairs. 1 flight, 2 flights, 3 flights. Her bare feet slapped against the cold stone. She didn't feel the pain. She only heard that scream playing on a loop in her head. He has her. The snake has her. She reached the heavy metal door of the basement. She slammed her shoulder against it. Bang. It flew open. Veronica saw the van. It was 30 meters away. The tires screeched as Richard stomped on the gas. "No!" Veronica screamed. She looked around. She needed a weapon. She saw a red fire extinguisher on the wall. She grabbed it. It was heavy, but adrenaline made it feel like a feather. She ran. She didn't run away from danger. She ran straight into it. The van was picking up speed. It was heading for the exit ramp. Veronica didn't chase the van. She ran to cut it off. She sprinted between the parked cars. Just as the van turned the corner toward the exit, Veronica jumped out from behind a concrete pillar. She stood right in the middle of the lane. A woman in a torn, muddy white dress, holding a fire extinguisher, barefoot and terrified. Richard saw her. His eyes went wide behind the windshield. He had a choice, run her over or brake. He slammed on the brakes. Screech. The van skidded. It stopped inches from Veronica's legs. Before Richard could recover, Veronica lifted the heavy red canister over her head. Smash. She brought it down on the driver's side window. The glass exploded into 1,000 diamonds. Richard screamed, covering his face. Veronica reached through the broken glass. She didn't care about the shards cutting her arms. She grabbed Richard by his expensive tie and slammed his head against the steering wheel. Thud. "Give me my daughter," she roared. The 2 men in masks jumped out of the back. They were big. They ran toward Veronica. Veronica turned to face them. She raised the fire extinguisher again. She was ready to die fighting. But suddenly, WO. Blue and red lights flooded the garage. 3 police cars blocked the ramp. And jumping out of the first car was Sam, the giant security guard from Chapter 1. "Get on the ground," Sam yelled, pointing a taser. "Nobody touches madam." The thugs froze. They put their hands up. Veronica dropped the extinguisher. She ran to the side door of the van. She ripped it open. Chidera was huddled in the corner, shaking. "Chidera," Veronica whispered. Chidera looked up. She saw Veronica, bleeding, sweaty, dirty, barefoot. She didn't look like a queen anymore. She looked like a fighter. You came," Chidera whispered. "I told you," Veronica sobbed, pulling Chidera into her arms. "I will never let you go again." Richard was dragged away in handcuffs, screaming about his lawyers. But Veronica didn't look at him. She only looked at the little girl in her arms. They walked back into the hospital. Sam the guard walked behind them like a bodyguard. Dr. Ballaghan was waiting. He looked grim. "Mrs. Sterling," he said. "We stabilized Ben again. But his kidneys are gone. He has maybe 4 hours. We checked the donor list. There is no match in the city." Chidera stopped walking. Her face crumbled. "So, he dies." Veronica looked at the doctor. Test me. The doctor blinked. Ma'am? Test me, Veronica commanded. I am O negative. I am a universal donor. Check my markers. If I match, take my kidney. But ma'am, the doctor stammered. The recovery, the risks, you are the CEO of Sterling Group. A surgery like this. I don't care if I am the Queen of England. Veronica yelled. That man saved my daughter when I couldn't. He raised her. He loved her. He is the only father she knows. I owe him his life. She looked at Chidera. I can't be your father, Chidera. But I can save him for you. Chidera stared at Veronica. For the first time, the wall of anger in her eyes cracked. You would hurt yourself for him? Chidera asked. Veronica knelt down. She wiped a smudge of dirt from Chidera's cheek. I would give my heart if he needed it. Because he is your world. And you are mine. Chidera didn't pull away this time. They were side by side. The billionaire and the poor man. Veronica reached out her hand. She held Ben's unconscious hand. Take care of her while I sleep, Ben, she whispered. The doors swung open. The lights of the operating room blinded them. Veronica opened her eyes. Ben. Sharp pain in her side. She tried to sit up. Chidera? Shoo, a soft voice said. Veronica blinked. Her vision cleared. She was in the VIP suite. But she wasn't alone. Sitting in a wheelchair next to her bed was Ben. He looked pale, but his eyes were open. They were clear. The yellow sickness was gone. And sitting on the bed between them was Chidera. She was holding Ben's hand with her left hand, and Veronica's hand with her right hand. You woke up, Chidera said, smiling. It was a real smile. A smile that lit up the room. Ben? Veronica whispered. You made it. Ben looked at her. Tears filled his eyes. You gave me a part of yourself, Veronica. Why? Because you kept the best part of me safe, Veronica said, looking at Chidera. You kept her safe when I couldn't. Ben squeezed her hand. I didn't steal her, Veronica. Your father, he threw her away. He put her in the trash behind the hospital. I found her. I ran because I knew he would kill her if he found out she was alive. Veronica gasped. The last piece of the puzzle fell into place. Her father was the monster, not Ben. I hated you for 20 years, Veronica said, crying. And all this time, you were her guardian angel. We are a family now, Chidera said firmly. She pulled their hands together. No more secrets, no more running, and no more shacks. Veronica laughed through her tears. No more shacks, I promise. The mansion didn't look like a fortress anymore. It looked like a home. In the garden, a huge banner hung between two palm trees. Grand opening, the Benjamin and Chidera Foundation for Children. Tables were piled high with food. Doctors were giving free checkups to children from the slums. Veronica stood on the balcony. She wasn't wearing a white suit. She was wearing a colorful Ankara dress. She looked happy, relaxed. Mommy? Chidera ran out onto the balcony. She looked healthy. Her cheeks were full. She wore a beautiful yellow dress and clean, sparkling shoes. Mommy, Papa Ben is cheating at cards with Sam. Chidera laughed. Veronica looked down. In the garden, Ben, looking strong and healthy in a nice suit, was laughing with Sam the guard. They were best friends now. He is not cheating, Veronica smiled, hugging her daughter. He is just lucky. Are you happy? Chidera asked, looking up at her mother. Veronica looked at the scar on her side, the hidden mark of her sacrifice. Then she looked at the girl who had melted her frozen heart. I have you, Veronica said. I have Ben. And we are helping people. I'm not just a billionaire anymore, Chidera. I am rich. Truly rich. Chidera hugged her tight. I love you, Mommy. I love you, my little bird. Narrator, text on screen. Money can buy a house, but only love can build a home. The end. Thank you for watching this incredible story. If you cried, if you cheered, or if you just loved it, please like this video and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. We have more amazing stories coming soon.